welcome back to A Day in the Life, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Adi. I love books. I love to read. I love cozy vibes. I love food. I love dogs. I love coffee. I'm just listing things I love now, just for the fun of it. I love to travel. What else do I love? Perfume, candles. Okay, anyways, it's that time of the month. Let's go through every single book I read in April, ranking them from least best to best, worst to first, lowest rated to highest rated, in the order that I read them throughout the month, starting with Finding Grace by Loretta Rothschild. Let me tell you a story about this book, okay? I started it in the beginning of, I think, March, read 2 chapters, couldn't really handle it. It was a lot. The twist that everyone warns you about is a crazy twist, and I just wasn't in the right mindset, so I put it aside, picked it back up on the last day of March, and finished it in a day. This book is so intense, so fast-paced, anxiety-inducing. I had secondhand embarrassment the entire time. This is a very special book because I can't give you the synopsis, otherwise it will ruin the entire thing. I went into it as blind as a bat, didn't even know the genre. It is right around 300 pages. You will be very frustrated with the characters, but I had a good time. I gave it 4 stars. It could have been a 5-star read if it wasn't for the end. If you read this book, I'm very curious to know if you liked how it ended, because I just think that the characters needed to do a little bit more work to get there. All that said, I did really enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but if you want a twisty, fast-paced book that is very unique, then I recommend it for you. I do think this is her debut novel, so I'm excited to see what else she writes. And this is going to go in spot number 7, which sounds low, but I read so many good books this month, so that's where it stands. Next up, This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum. This is actually another debut novel. This book follows 2 podcasters, Benny and Joy. They've been friends forever. After a night of recording a podcast, Benny goes to Joy's house the next day and finds her and her husband completely missing. And somehow Benny ends up becoming a suspect while he's also trying to do his own investigation. You also have a dual timeline told through flashbacks that are part of Joy's memoir. I didn't quite know where this book was gonna go, but I loved where it did. It took a hot sec for it to click in my mind. This has one of the most evil characters I've read in a while, but also a romance in it that I didn't know was going to happen. I simply could not put it down. The podcast element was really fun, especially with the audiobook. You have Julia Whelan doing the voice of Joy also. So, I mean, all in all, it was kind of a perfect recipe, and I gave it 5 stars. This was my second 5-star read of the year. I am still only at 2, so I need to figure that out in May, but absolutely loved it. This feels like a spoiler to say this early on where this goes, but it goes in the number 1 spot. This was by far my favorite read of April. Next book I read was How to Cheat Your Own Death. This is the 3rd book in the Castle Knoll Files series. I have read and loved books 1 and 2. I own them on paperback, so now I have to wait for the 3rd book to be on paperback before I can own it, but I think this was my favorite of the series. The entire series follows Annie Adams, where in book 1 she inherits a house from her great aunt, moves to this small town in the English countryside. All of the characters in that town are a little quirky. They all have some secrets. There's a little bit of found family vibe. She also has a little bit of a romantic vibe with the town detective. Probably one of the slowest burn romances between them that I've ever come across. In each book, there is a dual timeline to when her great aunt was younger and she had to solve a mystery. And then in the current time, Annie is also solving a mystery. And I did think that in the 3rd book, the timelines blended together so seamlessly. I am a sucker for a dual timeline, but when it is done well, it's like an extra added bonus for me. I ate it up. I gave it 4.5 stars, but somehow it is still only at number 5 because there were so many more books that I read that were incredible. Then I picked up Strangers. This is a memoir. I haven't read a memoir in a really long time, but I kept hearing incredible things about this one, so I had FOMO and I had to pick it up. This is about a woman who ends up going through a surprise divorce. She didn't quite prepare herself for said divorce, unfortunately for her. And so she talks about everything she went through mentally, financially, with her kids. This was quite the story. I could not put it down. I listened to the entire audiobook, I think within 24 hours. The author self-narrates. I thought she did a fantastic job. I do think you could consume it either way. Personally, I think this book should be required reading for every single woman, whether you're in a relationship or not. Women need to protect themselves, okay? And I have always thought that, and now I feel really vindicated in that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars as well, and it goes in the number 4 spot. I also will say, I know that some people don't rate memoirs. I do rate memoirs, but I rate them really generously. Like, a memoir is never really gonna be under 3 stars for me. Then I picked up one of my most anticipated reads, I think, of the entire year, and that was The Burning Side by Sarah Damoff. The Bright Years was her debut novel that came out last year. It was my favorite read of 2025, so I was very excited for this, although I was worried I was gonna put a little too much pressure on it. Not to worry, this book was absolutely incredible. I will say I didn't love it as much as I did love The Bright Years, but I still gave it 4.5 stars. Her writing is just so good. You get so attached to the characters. They feel very realistic. They have flaws, but they also redeem themselves. This book had so many different interpersonal, familial relationships. It follows a couple whose house burns down and they have to move in with their in-laws with their 2 young children and deal with a lot of other issues that have been falling apart within their marriage. On top of that, you have an entire storyline around memory. The father-in-law has just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so that is a big theme in this. So I do think that's a very important trigger warning. However, I thought it was incredibly well done. The value of memory felt like a really heavy theme throughout the book. I really enjoyed my time with this book, and then I sobbed like a baby at the end. This author just knows how to close out a book so perfectly. I cannot wait to see what else she writes. It goes in the number 3 spot. I'm so happy to say that this one did live up to the hype for me. Okay, so then I read The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which is the second book in the Dream Harbor series. For those of you that don't know, I do not like the Dream Harbor series. Granted, before this, I had only read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I think this series is incredibly overhyped. I understand that it's like cheesy Hallmark romance, but when I think about what is the most cheesiest romance book I've ever read, it's The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And on top of that, I didn't like the miscommunication in that book. I didn't like the dialogue in that book. There was just really not much that I liked in it. I had already purchased The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore on my Kindle, so I did tell myself I'd at least read the second book, and then I pulled it in my roulette series videos, so I had to read it. This was a reformed playboy, naive young girl romance. I don't know, not young girl. She was a full adult, but she didn't have a lot of like life experiences, so there's also not a bucket list, but she goes on like the scavenger hunt that has her do all these different activities during the summer so that she can have like the best summer ever. I am a sucker for a bucket list, so I think I liked that, and I did like the reformed playboy element to it. I think I love a playboy main male character. Charlie from One Golden Summer is like the prime example of that. Was this just as cheesy as the first? Yes. Miscommunication, pretty much as bad as the first, but I didn't hate it as much. I don't know why. I don't know. By the end of it, I was like, I could read another. I gave it 2.5 stars, which sounds like a low rating, but that's to me right down the middle. Not for me personally. Like, I would never ever reread it or really recommend it to anyone. But if you liked it, I can kind of see why. Shockingly though, this goes in the number 9 spot. It's not even my least favorite of the month, so we will get to that. Then I read This Book Made Me Think of You. This was the Everything Shelf book club book in the Fable app for April. I had a good time with it. I did think it was a little bit cheesy, and I rated it a little bit on the lower side compared to everyone else in the book club because, I mean, everyone loved it. This book is about Tilly. She's a recent widow, and her husband that passed away ends up gifting her a year's worth of books, but she only gets to unwrap each one in the beginning of the month over the next year. So it starts in January, and the bookseller's kind of in on the whole thing, so he's helping her get through the grief a little bit. There's a lot of self-discovery in this on top of dealing with grief. I thought that the author did a really good job of both those things. I just personally felt like the romance was a little bit cheesy because there is a romance in it, and it made sense, and I liked it. I just didn't really feel the chemistry. I felt like it was a little bit simple writing for most of the book, but I understand why people loved it. I gave it 3.75 stars. Not my favorite, but I do think this is a fantastic book that you could recommend to pretty much anyone. Like, I think your grandma would love it, your mother-in-law would love it, your coworker would love it. And for what it's worth, my book club, I think, rated it almost 4.5 stars on average. This goes in the number 8 spot for me. Again, not one of my favorites. I think everything above that I liked a lot more, although I did give it almost a 4 stars. So it's not that bad. It's just that I had so many other reads that I liked a lot more. And then I read an advanced copy of Dolly All the Time. This is Annabel Monaghan's newest release, and I freaking gobbled it up. I mean, I love all of her books. They have the best summer vibes, believable romances. You can never hate the main male character for too long. This one follows Dolly. She's a single mother. She ends up moving back to her hometown, which is like this cute little beach town in Rhode Island, because her father and her brother need help. So she stays with them for a little bit, and she runs into this really rich guy who needs help convincing his like family business that he has his shit together, and that means he needs a girlfriend. So that's how the fake dating scheme pretty much ends up coming into play. I went into it knowing it was going to be fake dating. I didn't know it was going to be like a little billionaire romance. And you would think that it would make the story really outlandish, but it was honestly perfect. So believable. I truly think this scenario could happen to me. And if that means I have to wait like 6 more years before I find my person, I would do that. Again, impeccable summer vibes. The romance was so good. The chemistry between the characters was so good. There is a third act breakup that was kind of understandable, but I do think that the main male character got off the hook a little bit too easy, and I would have liked to see him grovel for a little bit longer. So I think the book could have honestly been 50 more pages, which is crazy because it was right around 400 pages, and I never say that about a romance. But I honestly could have lived in this town. Like, oh, it was so good. I gave it 4.5 stars, close to 5 stars, but not quite. And this does go in the number 2 spot. I just need Annabel to write me a summer romance every year from here on out, and I think I will be happy forever. Okay, so 2 books left to end out the month. I picked up Mad Mabel, which has also been making its rounds across Bookstagram and Book Talk, and I loved it. I tried to go into this one a little bit blind. I knew it was about an older woman, and I knew there was a dual timeline. I do think you should go into this one pretty blind. Basically, this woman lives in this really idyllic neighborhood, quiet neighborhood. Her neighbor ends up dead. She goes to his house to investigate, and because she's first on the scene, the cops start questioning her, and then you get to learn about her backstory. That's all you need to know. I, again, couldn't put it down. The dual timelines were perfect together. This is my first book by Sally Hepworth, and I feel like I need to read her other books, although I know this one is much different than her normal books. This one isn't really a thriller, and I think most of the books are at least more mystery than this one is. This one felt very much contemporary fiction. A little bit of romance sprinkled in, a little bit of mystery sprinkled in. A lot of humor. Was absolutely hilarious. Loved it. Gave it 4.25 stars. I highly, highly recommend, especially if you like books with older characters like Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers or The Thursday Murder Club or Too Old for This. If you liked any of those books, add this to your list. The audiobook is great too. There were some twists that were a little bit predictable, but other than that, I loved it. This does go in the number 6 spot, which feels low, but it's only because I read so many good books this month. That means the last book I read this month was unfortunately my least favorite of the month, and that was Caught Up by Liz Tomforde, which is the 3rd book in the Windy City series. I picked up books 1 and 2 a long time ago. I remember not loving book 1. I remember liking book 2. I do remember that both of them felt incredibly long to me. They're spicy romances, so I just don't really think they need as much plot as they have, ironically enough. It's like almost too much plot, too much repetition. The breakups are always annoying. These are all dual POV. I always forget that I just don't think I like dual POV in romance that much. This one is a baseball romance between a pitcher and the manager's daughter, who becomes this pitcher's kid's nanny. So it's a single dad nanny sports romance. A lot of tropes here. I can see why people like it, but I honestly don't think I understand the full obsession with this series. I gave this book 2 stars. I had the entire second half on 3x speed on audio because I just wanted to get through it. It took me almost 2 weeks to read it, and it shouldn't. This put me in a mini slump, and that made me really sad, but I wanted to finish it. So here we are, and I can't decide if I'm going to keep going with the series. But yeah, this one goes in the number 10 spot. Unfortunately, that is how I ended the month. Okay, so that's the wrap up. If you made it this far, let me know what your favorite read of the month was, because I clearly need to find more 5-star reads this year. I'm freaking out that we're in May and I only have 2 5-star reads. So help a girl out, and thanks for hanging, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.